Hi, I'm Jaclyn.
And I'm Courtney, and this is Caffeinated Crimes.
Here we are again, another story to tell you guys, another beautiful day here. It's kind of cold, but Courtney's laughing at me because my intros are not nailing it.
For some reason, the way you said that, it sounded like it should be like, and these are the days of our lives. Like the soap opera. So,
I like it.
Just another story to tell, another beautiful day, and these are the days of our lives.
That's how we're going to start every episode from now on.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great day here because it's a Sunday morning and I skipped my workout and instead had a second cup of coffee and a donut. So I'm super ready for this recording. I'm caffeinated up. I'm caffeinated. I'm sugared up. We got 2 back-to-back episodes.
Good to go.
Yes. Earlier this week, I got my first full night's sleep since probably like my second trimester of pregnancy. And I told Courtney, I was like, okay, I'm going to tackle this case. And she's like, maybe wait until like tomorrow and see if you feel the same way because you're you're doing too much right now. So I appreciate bringing me down.
Yeah, especially just because, I will be on my honeymoon soon. So we're trying to really quickly get episodes going. So we're usually like both researching a case and recording that case at the end of the week. And so I was like, I'm a little nervous that you're going to get a little in over your head and we're going to be screwed.
Yeah. She's like, no, very nicely, like, don't do that. So if I'm still feeling motivated when Courtney's on her honeymoon, that's going to be my honeymoon project. So I'm ready. I'm excited about that one. It's one that my dad requested. I bet you guys are going to like it, but you're going to have to stay tuned for, I don't know, like 2 months at this point to see.
Yeah. I'm also thinking, this might be me getting ahead of myself, but because I do have very long travel days going to and from my honeymoon, so I'm like, maybe I'll just like download a book and just like take notes on the plane, because what else am I supposed to do? I'm probably going to sleep.
Do it.
What am I talking about? I'm going to freaking crash. They're going to wake up and be like, it's been a 9-hour flight already. I'm here? What?
Yeah, no. You should use your honeymoon for like pleasure reading and like fluffy, happy, those types of books.
Yeah, I'm trying right now to figure out my physical book to ebook ratio, because I'm like, maybe it should be all ebooks, but I was like, maybe I want to take 1 or 2 like real books, and then I was like, maybe I should just like be that person and pick up a book at the airport, because I always think that's so like, I picked this book up on the way to my honeymoon. So we'll see. No one fucking cares about this. Anyway, I'm going to say it anyway. I have an Overdrive account with, like, the library, so I've been, like, putting all the stuff on hold, and just every time it comes available, I'm like, delay, so that I can have, like, 10 books at my ready when I'm ready to go.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. I feel like I always have so many on hold for ebooks, and like we said before, they all become ready at the exact same time, so that's always fun. I did also buy one of those Kindle specials. Like I get like the daily emails, can't remember the name of that thing, or I would plug it, but they send like all of the different like sites if they have like specials going, so they're usually like $2 books or so. So I found one that looked really good, so I got that. And then my phone, the Kindle app, keeps sending me a reminder like, make sure and start this book, and I'm like, yeah, I'm currently reading 2 other books at the same time. I'll get to your book, Kindle, I promise.
Like, I own this book now. I have it forever.
Exactly.
Don't have to worry.
Because I have a bad habit of, like, reading a physical book and an ebook at the same time, so,
I can't do it. I've tried before, but my brain starts meshing the stories.
I can only do it. I have to have
separate.
One fiction, one nonfiction.
So, like, very separate books.
Yeah. So that's how I have to do it. I can't read 2 fiction or 2 nonfiction. It's got to be 2... very strategic about how... Anyway, you guys don't give a shit about our book lists. Or maybe you do. I don't know. We have a Caffeinated Crimes book list on Goodreads now, so...
Yeah, because randomly we talked about it in one of the episodes of Do You Guys Want a Goodreads list of every book we've ever read? So one day I was bored and I put it together. And we'll keep that updated. So if you guys want that of any... That's books we've used for research or books we've just read that are like true crime... books or true crime adjacent books. So if you want that, let us know.
Yeah, definitely.
So we do have a few updates. Again, I know, I'm really sorry. By the time you hear this, you're going to be like, that's some old news. But,
Whoops.
I'm just letting you relive it because maybe you didn't hear it. So, Jean-Luc Brunel was found dead in his cell. So who the fuck is Jean-Luc Brunel? I know. I thought the same thing. He was a French model and modeling agency manager, but most importantly, he was a longtime associate of Jeffrey Epstein. So he was found alone, hanging from his bed sheets at around 1:30 a.m. And they're saying early evidence points that he died by suicide, but I think I've seen this film before. I mean, the ending was okay both times because they're both pieces of shit, but you know what I'm saying. Oh God, I hope I don't get copyrighted for that. Anyway, so he was in jail on multiple allegations of rape. Like there was multiple models who were saying that he abused them, and they didn't really release the ages of these models either, like when the abuse happened, but we know Jeffrey Epstein targeted children, so he probably did too. But yeah, so this is another one of those, like, was he about to reveal some stuff? Did the guilt just get him? Like, what is it? I did see articles of Ghislaine Maxwell's family worried for her safety, but... Yeah, there is that update. So another Jeffrey Epstein little associate died in his cell. I feel like this is a trend that's going to keep happening.
Yeah, this is a clear pattern here. I feel like we should definitely be suspicious of any death related to Jeffrey Epstein, anyone who knew Epstein, because, yeah, there are some crazy shit going on with that. So,
yeah.
In other news, remains and items were found in a Utah mine that could belong to Susan Powell, and they have been sent off to a lab for forensic testing. So if you're not familiar with her story, Susan Powell went missing in 2009, and it was heavily speculated that she had been killed by her husband, Josh Powell. Josh did eventually kill himself and their two children, Braden and Charles, in a pretty horrific manner. It's really bad. So her family feels really confident that this could be her, and a lot of things that Josh and his family said could line up to her remains being in this location. So hopefully that testing will come back and give her family some kind of closure soon.
Yeah, her dad, it broke my heart. He was like, I feel pretty confident it's her. And he was like, but maybe if it's not, another family can get closure, like on their loved one. And it's like, oh man,
Gosh,
it's so rough. And that poor family losing their daughter and their grandchildren. And if you haven't heard this case, the podcast series Cold was like dedicated to it. It is very good. And other podcasts have done like one-off episodes too, so you could listen to those. It is very, very hard to listen to. It's very tragic.
Yeah. I don't know if that's one we would ever be able to do because it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, it's rough. And that 911 call is oof, 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 oof. If you know, you know. So
yeah.
We're going to go ahead and get into today's case. So our resources are a WUSA 9 News article, the BlueRidgeOutdoors.com, an article from them, FBI.gov, and the Washington Post. So, located just 70 miles from Washington, D.C., Shenandoah National Park includes over 200,000 acres of protected lands in Virginia, and this park is home to waterfalls, vistas, wildflowers, and quiet wooded hollows. And almost 1.5 million people visit Shenandoah each year. In May of 1996, Julie Williams and Lollie Winans went on a backpacking trip in Shenandoah National Park with their golden retriever Taj, and unfortunately only Taj would make it out alive. So the two women had met 2 years earlier at a nonprofit in Minnesota called Woods Woman that educated on education and adventure travel for women, and they began dating sometime after that. And Lollie, whose first name was Laura, was from a well-off family in Michigan, and after she graduated high school, she enrolled in college in Vermont, but did eventually drop out. A few years later, she enrolled in Unity College near Waterville, Maine, and studied to become a wilderness guide. Lollie loved the outdoors and was described as a microbrew drinking, fish following, cigarette smoking, good time girl by journalist Barry Yauman.
Which sounds like my kind of gal, you know?
Yeah. You sound like a fun time. And Julie, whose first name was Julianne, won the Minnesota State double tennis championship in high school and traveled abroad in Europe during college to study the extinction of dinosaurs, which sounds absolutely incredible.
Right.
She also spoke Spanish and worked with disadvantaged populations before graduating summa cum laude. After graduation, she did move to Richmond, Vermont, and started working at a bookstore in Burlington. So Julie was also studying to be a geologist and was set to start a new job on June 1st, 1996. So Julie and Lollie took their backpacking trip the month before to celebrate the start of her new job. So Julie was 24 and Lollie was 26 when they set out in Shenandoah National Park on May 19th.
Which, can I just say, like, these two women sound so badass. Like, when you list all of their, like, hobbies and interests, and it's just like, you two just sound so cool. And I always wonder, like, you know, if I die and people are describing me, I'm like, what the hell are they going to say? Like, I don't know. She liked to, like, read and run, and that was about it. She didn't really do anything.
She read to escape and ran from her problems.
I can't wait from the grave to hear Courtney describe me on this podcast, guys.
Hey, who's saying that you're dying first? We all see how clumsy I am.
That is a good point.
On May 31st, Julie's father, Thomas Williams, reported her missing when she failed to return home when expected. So park rangers started searching the national park, and they found their car just north of Skyland Lodge. And Bridget Bonnet, the deputy chief ranger at Shenandoah National Park, said they began quick searches of all the trails in that area. And it was at that point they found Taj wandering around without a leash. So the next night, June 1st, park rangers found the bodies of Julie Williams and Lollie Winans at their campsite. They were bound and gagged, and their throats had been slit. Their campsite was a peaceful spot off of Bridle Trail and next to a stream. So the place where their bodies were located was only a quarter mile down from the trail from Skyline Drive and a half a mile from Skyline Lodge. Skyline Lodge. Why is that a tongue twister? Anyway. This was the weekend after Memorial Day, and Skyline Lodge would have been full of tourists and hikers gathering in the cabins, restaurant, and bar attached to the lodge. However, backcountry regulations at that time did require that backpackers camp away from designated trails, fire roads, and developed areas, so their campsite was like secluded from the main trails. Which I wonder why that was a regulation. That seems very random.
Yeah, that doesn't seem very safe. It was changed after this. I couldn't find anything that specified, like, if this is the reason they changed it, but I'm sure it had something to do with it because they realized, like, oh, hey, this isn't safe.
Yeah, like, I would understand if the Skyline Lodge was like, please don't on our property, but, like, being, like, a regulation of, like, hey, you gotta be as secluded as possible.
Yeah, like, oh, you're, like, backpacking where you have, like, no, like, protection, you know, okay, well, you need to be as far away as possible from everyone else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So their camera was found near their bodies, which allowed investigators to piece together the last few days of their lives. So they did arrive at the park on May 19th and began to hike on the White Oak Canyon Trail, but they came out a few days later because of rain. They then hitched a ride with a park ranger and renewed their camping permit before going out hiking again. And this was on May 24th, and this is also the last time anyone did see them alive. So they climbed Hawksville, which is the highest mountain in Shenandoah, before settling at the campsite where their bodies were found. So when a crime occurs in a national park, the National Park Service Investigative Searches Branch, or ISB, is responsible for the investigation. So they must first determine the jurisdiction of the land where the incident occurred, because it could be on federal or state land. So Shenandoah National Park is exclusively federal jurisdiction, so only the federal government had law enforcement authority. So in this case, the ISB and FBI worked together. So the Virginia State Police's crime scene unit also assisted because the ISB did not have the necessary equipment at the time. So statistically, public lands see little criminal activity as most deaths come from accidents because, I mean, it is a national park. A lot of times it's like injury, getting lost, wildlife, etc. So But investigating a murder in a national park is very difficult. Visitors come from all over the world, so Julie and Lollie could have crossed paths with anyone. I mean, we said 1.5 million people visit annually. Like, It's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And in 1996, a total of 1.57 million people visited Shenandoah. And especially, like, around, I feel like, this is kind of like around, like, Memorial Day weekend. Like, that's the time people take trips like this, too. So it's, like, a high traffic time as well. It's also incredibly difficult to collect any evidence in such a large outdoor area. And due to being in a remote area, Julie and Lollie's bodies were not discovered until they had likely been dead for several days. So the ISB and FBI investigated many leads but didn't come up with anything, and the investigation stalled. So a little over a year later, in July of 1997, Yvonne Malabasha traveled to Shenandoah from Canada. So she was riding her bike on Skyline Drive when a man driving a truck forced her off the road. The man then stepped out of his truck and tried to kidnap Yvonne. She fought back and was able to run while the man got back in the truck and tried to run her over numerous times, which is nightmare-inducing.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Horrible.
Park rangers were able to catch him and apprehend him, and they found hand and leg restraints in his truck when they searched it during his arrest. Not a great sign.
So, I mean, clearly he did not have good intentions when, trying to run this woman over, but that just proved that he had other intentions as well.
I don't think he was innocently into, like, BDSM. Like, this is, like...
I don't think so. Yeah. You gotta have consent. Yeah, you gotta have consent from your partners for that, actually.
Yeah. So the man was Daryl David Rice. He had no criminal record, but had recently been fired from his job at MCI System House for being extremely hostile. So he was in his late 20s and resided in Columbia, Maryland. He was single and didn't have any kids, and his ex-coworkers said he yelled profanities at them and made sexually explicit remarks. So, the worst coworker of all time. They also said he did things like steal lunches, bump into them so they would spill their coffee, and throw away things they had hung up in the office. And he even punched a hole in the men's restroom.
I'm seeing why you were fired here, Daryl. I understand.
You need some therapy, sir. You got some anger issues somewhere.
Whew.
So the next year, Rice pled guilty to the attempted kidnapping of Yvonne Malabasha and was sentenced to 135 months in the federal penitentiary in Petersburg, Virginia. And he also became the prime suspect in the murders of Julie and Lollie due to the location and his hostility towards women. So, investigators did find surveillance footage of Rice entering the park at Front Royal at 8:05 p.m. on May 25th, 1996, and again at Rockfish Gap at 4:57 p.m. on May 26th. He then returned with friends Carol and Robert Ruckert on June 1st. So, he did admit to being in the park on June 1st, but denied being in the park on May 25th and 26th, even though they had him on video going into the park.
Yeah.
So, Daryl David Rice was indicted for the murders of Julie and Lollie on April 10th, 2001, based on circumstantial evidence. So, prosecutors claim that Rice chose these women because of their sexuality, so his indictment also included a hate crime, which meant he could face the death penalty if convicted. And in 2003, a hair at the crime scene was tested and did not match either Rice or the victims, but also, like, it's a big park.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So prosecutors continued trying to build a case, but were unable to come up with any forensic evidence to tie Rice to the murders. In 2004, the charges against Rice were officially dismissed without prejudice, meaning he could be charged again at a later date. And Rice was released from prison on the kidnapping charge in 2011 and was last seen in Durango, Colorado in 2014.
So the FBI issued a new press release and updated flyers around the 20th anniversary of the murders, encouraging the public to call in tips if they had any information. Deidre Onright, who is the founder and director of the Innocence Project at the University of Virginia Law School, believes that the DNA should be tested again. The last time it was tested was almost 20 years ago, and science has come such a long way since then, so retesting it now, they might be able to get more information that they couldn't get 20 years ago just because of the scientific advancement. Onright said that male DNA from the gag in Julie's mouth and hairs under the duct tape were previously tested and did not belong to Rice. And Wright also has another possible suspect, so a man named Richard Evonitz. Evonitz was responsible for the deaths of 3 young girls in Virginia the same year that Julie and Lollie were murdered. So because there's such limited information about these girls, we are going to go ahead and cover them here in this episode as well, because there wasn't enough information to do a whole episode. So if it's a little disjointed, that's why we kind of got 2 different stories going on here. But as you can see, they could be tied together. So 16-year-old Sophia Silva was last seen on the front porch of her family's home in Spotsylvania County, Virginia on September 9th, 1996. She had arrived home from school that afternoon and took a can of soda outside to do homework on the porch. And her sister was actually inside the house and never saw Sophia leave. She just simply vanished and there were no signs of a struggle. So just so bizarre that like someone is home and just doesn't see or hear anything. Her family, the police, and the community searched for Sophia for weeks with no leads, and unfortunately her body was found around 5 to 6 weeks later, 20 miles away from her home in a shallow pond. She was wrapped in a white cover, and all of her pubic hair had been shaved off. So police still had not arrested anyone for Sophia's murder when 15-year-old Kristin Lisk and 12-year-old Kati Lisk vanished from their home after getting off the bus on May 1st, 1997 in Fredericksburg, Virginia, so really close by. Their father arrived home that evening, and Kristin and Kati were both gone, and Kristin's backpack was in the front yard. Their bodies were found 5 days later in the South Anna River, which was about 40 miles from their home, and both of their pubic hair had been shaved as well. So DNA would later reveal that the same man had murdered Sophia and the Lisk sisters, but police still didn't know who that man was. So like we know it's a match, but we can't match it to any person. Police followed up on 12,000 leads and more than 10,000 forensic examinations were conducted. The DNA was compared with 1.2 million samples in law enforcement databases and 45,000 other unsolved cases, but investigators never got a hit. So 5 years later, on June 24th, 2002, a 15-year-old girl in Columbia, South Carolina, ran for help and said that she had been abducted, raped, and held captive by a man for 18 hours. So she had been outside her friend's house watering plants when a man pretending to be a magazine salesman approached her and pointed a gun at her, forcing her into a plastic container in his car. He placed a rope around her neck and put a wad of paper towels in her mouth like a gag, and when they arrived at his house, he handcuffed her to his bed and raped her. Afterward, he cleaned up around the apartment, and she said the man then got high and fell asleep, and she was able to get out of her restraints to go get help. So she found 2 men in the parking lot of his apartment complex who drove her to the police station, which, like, how terrifying in that experience that you're like, now I'm going to trust these 2 strange men to take me where I'm supposed to go after what just happened to me. Like,
yeah, that's always so hard, too. It's like, because so many people are, like, so shitty, too. And you're just like, what if I'm getting in the car with someone else who's going to, like, hurt me? And it's like, ugh, it's a lot.
So she was able to lead police back to the apartment where she had been held, but the man was gone. They did find that the apartment belonged to Richard Evonitz. He lived with his wife, who was currently at Disney World, and police found Evonitz 2 days later in Sarasota, Florida, and pursued a high-speed chase. And when they did finally surround him, they released police dogs, and while these dogs were biting at him, Evonitz pulled out a gun and shot himself to death. So while searching Evonitz's apartment, police found a footlocker with newspaper articles about Sophia, Kristin, and Kati's murders. They also discovered that he had lived in Virginia at the time of their murders, and a few months later, DNA tests revealed that fibers from Evonitz's bathroom rug matched those found on all 3 girls' bodies, and that the hairs found on their bodies belonged to Evonitz. They also found Kristin Lisk's handprint inside the trunk of his car, and the forensic analyst said that it was a miracle that it was still there after 5 years. Because when I first read that, I was like, wait a minute. But I guess it is possible if, like, you don't have anything else going on. You just don't clean your car? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that'd be Kevin. I swear that man never cleans his car. He probably has, who knows how many ex-girlfriends' handprints in that thing.
Hopefully not in the trunk, because we're going to need to have some conversations if so, Kevin.
Well, thankfully, his trunk, it's like a hatchback, so it's not closed. So if he did hide someone, everyone would see. So that man couldn't get away with murder. Love him with my entire soul. He'd leave a trail right to him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Andrew would be the same way. So, but hopefully we don't have to worry about our significant others murdering people.
Yeah.
So when Evonitz was on the run from police, he supposedly called his sister and said that he murdered more people than he remembered, so implying that there were more than these 3 girls. And the girl that he abducted and raped in South Carolina was upset that he had killed himself and she wouldn't have the opportunity to testify against him in court. When she went on America's Most Wanted, she said, "I wanted to go to trial and let him see me again and know that I was his downfall. Picking me, that was the greatest mistake of his life." So she's like such a badass. I couldn't find her name anywhere. I'm sure if I really digged, it would be there, but it seems like...
But she might not want it out there.
Yeah, exactly. So Richard Evonitz was born in South Carolina in 1963. He joined the Navy shortly after graduating high school and served as a sonar technician. He did receive a Good Conduct Medal before being honorably discharged after 8 years of service. In 1987, he masturbated in front of a 15-year-old girl in Orange Park, Florida, and he was arrested a month later after his ship returned to port, and he pleaded no contest and was sentenced to 3 years probation. So this was while he was in the Navy and was somehow still honorably discharged. So that's interesting.
Very interesting.
So Evonitz married his first wife, Bonnie Lou Gower, when he was 25 years old and she was 17. Bonnie did leave him in September of 1996 after a visit to California and deciding that she wanted to move there to be with her mother and another man. And Evonitz actually murdered Sophia while Bonnie was away on this trip. So they had already separated when he murdered the Lisk sisters. So we have a pattern here of him going after these young girls when he's not with someone else. Then in 1999, Evonitz met Hope Marie Crowley, who was 17 years old to his 36. Yikes.
That's gross.
Yeah. And they did get married when she turned 18. So, yeah. They were still married and living together when he abducted and raped the girl in South Carolina. Because if you remember, I said that he did live there with his wife who was at Disney World. And Hope was shocked and did not believe that her husband could have murdered these women. Just the typical spousal response here.
So do you think that she, like, knew he was kind of grimy? Or is this, like, an intense case of grooming? Because she was, like, 18 and she was like, there's no way this man who's been so nice to me could do this?
Yeah, I don't know. Because, I mean, she was, like, super young. This guy's 20 years older than her. You know, who knows?
I just wonder if she was, like, so gaslit and so...
Yeah.
I mean, this is, like... She was groomed, for sure. I mean, she was 17.
100%.
So, like, I wonder if she's just, like, under his spell, kind of.
Yeah.
And she's like, what do you mean? Like, this can't happen. Like,
yeah, that could definitely be the case. There were some articles that, like, went into details of their sex life, which I didn't really feel was appropriate or relevant, because the things you do in bed with your spouse don't make you a rapist and murderer. So, didn't feel like it was relevant here, but I could definitely see that she, you know, obviously she was groomed by him, and did that play a role in the way that she responded when she got this information, like, for sure.
Yeah.
Investigators do say that Evonitz is a suspect in the murders of other young girls in the Virginia and Maryland area in the 1990s as well. So, like I said, Deidre Onright, who, going back a few minutes here in case you forgot, was the founder and director of the Innocence Project at the University of Virginia Law School. So she believes it's very likely that Evonitz also murdered Julie Williams and Lollie Winans, and that if the FBI tested evidence in their case, they might be able to confirm that. However, Julie's father, Tom, says he doesn't believe that Evonitz murdered his daughter. Not really any information about why he thinks that, but he did release a statement that he doesn't think that this man is responsible, so I felt like that was important to include here. So the murders of Julie and Lollie do remain unsolved today. The FBI's press release reads, in part, "Over the past 25 years, we are cognizant that those who were hiking in the park at the time of the murders were visiting local establishments and even resided in the area may not be local to Virginia any longer. Therefore, it is crucial that this case continues to be shared throughout the country. It is possible that there are people anywhere from Virginia to the West Coast that could have information valuable to investigators. The investigation into their murder continues to be a joint effort by the FBI Richmond Field Office, the National Park Service, and the Virginia State Police. No bit of information is insignificant, and your tip could be the piece of evidence that brings closure to this 25-year-old case." So, still ongoing, couple of possible suspects. Rice was never really like ruled out. They just couldn't find anything to officially tie him to the investigation. Evonitz also had similar murders in the area. Again, no evidence in either case. I'm sure there are many other suspects, but these seem to be like, some of the most likely, but officially this case is still unsolved. So if you have any information, please share this with anyone you know who may have been in this area at that time, may have been visiting the park at that time, because, like the FBI is saying, people come from all over to go to these national parks. So, we shouldn't just be sharing this information locally, because people all over the world may have been there and may have something to share. So if you do have any information, please contact the FBI Richmond office at 804-261-1044. So hopefully we can get closure for the families of Julie Williams and Lollie Winans.
Yeah, just a super tragic case, and it is so hard when it's in like a national park in these secluded areas, and it's like, especially if it's like stranger on stranger, which are the hardest ones to solve in this national park. And it's just so sad and so tragic. They were so young and such amazing women. And
because
it really sucks.
If you have no physical evidence, it's like, where do you even start in an investigation? Like there's so many people, it's, outdoors. And like I said, they believe that they had been dead a few days by the time they were found. So who knows what evidence did exist that was destroyed. They did have rain, in the first part of their camping trip, so it could have rained later as well. There's just so many factors.
And there's like wildlife out there. It's just nature. You know what I mean? Like they might just come up, and take something away. They don't even realize it's of any meaning. Like,
exactly. This is the last known murder in the Shenandoah National Park, though. So
that's good.
I don't want to say the last officially, because there could be people murdered and hid there that we still don't know about. But as far as those who have been found, like I said, they did change their backpacking policy as far as where those people are allowed to camp. So hopefully it is, a bit safer area where you're not forcing them to be so secluded. And again, like we said, crime is pretty rare in national parks and public lands. Like this is kind of an anomaly that this happened here. But yeah, just a super tragic case. And also Sophia Silva and Kristin Lisk and Kati Lisk, as well as the girl in South Carolina whose name we don't know, and anyone else that Evonitz may have murdered, kidnapped, raped in his many years. He was also in the Navy, so who knows everywhere that
where
he's
he
been.
Traveled. Yeah.
Exactly. Like I feel like we see this a lot with these people in the military or who have traveling jobs, that they're just all over the place. So it's like you can't even make these connections really, because you're trying to pinpoint where they lived when, and it's just
that's like Samuel Little, right? Like he traveled so much, so it's like, who knows? And Israel Keys as well, who had like his plane and would just fly everywhere, and it's like, who even knows? Like nothing's off the table at this point. Like,
yeah, exactly. So super tragic, sad cases. Try to bring it up a bit. Courtney, what is your perk of the week?
Okay, so my perk of the week is yesterday, Kevin and I went on a walk, and we were like, oh yeah, we'll just walk a little bit. And then we ended up walking 2 miles to get a cookie.
Perfect.
And that was 2 miles one way and then 2 miles back. So 4 miles round trip for a cookie. But basically we were just walking, and then at some point, there's this local cookie place called Myrtle's Bakehouse. If you are a local and you've heard of Richie Cream Donuts, it's the same company. Like the guy had bought Richie Cream Donuts, and he makes his own cookies. And he has this February special that is, it's called Makin' Whoopie. And it is 2 red velvet cookies with a chocolate icing in the middle. And it is quite possibly the greatest cookie I've ever had. It is so delicious. I don't know what I'm going to do when February ends and I can't get this cookie anymore. I'm going to be really sad. I mean, maybe it's for the better, so I stop eating cookies, but I've talked to the guy who owns it because he's usually there and, like, really social, and he's just, like, everything he makes, like, he makes it from scratch. He's like, if I put, like, a little bit of cream cheese, like, this is homemade cream cheese. Like, I'm going all in, all out. And I love it. Every cookie I've had from there is absolutely incredible. So if you are local and you're near Richie Cream or Marble City Market, or they're always at the farmer's market downtown on, like, Saturdays and Wednesdays or whatever, definitely go grab yourself a cookie. They're incredible. You're going to love it. Absolutely amazing. So that's my perk of the week because I love a cookie. Yeah.
Well, it's not my perk of the week, but I did also have a delicious cookie yesterday. So we went to Crumble Cookies, which is a chain. So if you have them near you, check them out. They are delicious. I was like, yeah, let me get this 4-pack. And like each cookie is like the size of my child's head. So I was like, whoops, maybe should not have done that. But the first one I tried was the chocolate with chocolate chip and a strawberry icing. And I'm not a big icing person. I usually do away with icing, but it was like creamy and not like overly sweet, and it was it was delicious. So I have 3 more in there to try today, and I'm super excited.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of it until one of our listeners, shout out Sydney, posted it on her story. And then, it's the Bader Meinhof, where once you hear of it, you see it everywhere. And yeah, I did see a girl on TikTok who said that, like, she ordered some, and they were like, oh, what, like, event are you going to? Like, what party? And she's like, no, these are just for me.
No, my couch and Netflix, that's the party.
Yeah. I'll have to try those if I'm ever near one, because don't think there's any near us.
No.
But, so yeah, that was my perk of the week. Jaclyn, what is your perk of the week?
So my perk of the week is the TV show Good Sam. So it did come out, I guess, a couple months ago at this point, because I'm trying to like see, like catching up on new episodes, and I'm like, there's 5 episodes already? Like, this just came out last week, because I have no concept of time, and I watch like an hour of TV a week now, so I'm just behind on all the shows that I was planning on watching, but it's fine. But it is a really good show. It does star Sophia Bush, who we love here on this podcast. But it is a medical drama, and so it's got like her father in it, and it's so you have like the personal stuff, but then it's also kind of like House-esque, where like each episode they're like solving like a medical like mystery kind of thing, so it's super good.
So just another Grey's Anatomy, like most of these medical shows.
It's kind of a Grey's Anatomy meets House, I don't know why House specifically. I just get House vibes from it. But anyway, yeah, it's, typical medical drama, but it's really good so far, and I really enjoy it. So that is my perk of the week. Maybe one day I'll get caught up on TV shows that I want to watch. Probably not, but...
Yeah, and if you want to tell us about your favorite cookie, what cookies that you think we should try or everyone should try, or if you want to tell us your favorite medical drama, you can do so on Instagram at Caffeinated Crimes Pod, on Twitter at Caff Crimes Pod, that's CAFF Crimes Pod, on Facebook at Caffeinated Crimes Podcast. We are on YouTube, that is Caffeinated Crimes Podcast. We're on TikTok at Caffeinated Crimes. You can send us an email at caffeinatedcrimespod@gmail.com. And if you maybe want to like talk to us in Discord about all of this stuff, or you want bonus episodes, or you want Google Hangouts, or any other extra special perks, you can go over to patreon.com/caffeinatedcrimes, and starting for as low as $3 a month up to $20 a month, you can join one of those tiers and get some perks, and we'd love to have you over there.
Yes, and I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I think this is coming out around our 2-year anniversary. Maybe that week, maybe a little after. It's somewhere around our 2-year anniversary, guys.
Hold on, pause. So it'll be 5 days after?
Okay. So the right week. Okay. So happy 2-year. Yes. Happy 2-year anniversary to us. To celebrate, for the past 2 fucking years, we've been trying to get 50 reviews on Apple Podcasts. So, when Courtney and I set this goal, we did 2 contests when we started this podcast. We did 100 Instagram followers and 50 Apple Podcast reviews. And we got the Instagram followers very quickly. The podcast reviews did not follow. We thought we were setting a reasonable goal, but apparently not. So maybe this will be the last time we say this. Probably not, but it would be great if we could reach those 50 reviews. Again, grab anyone's phone near you. If you're on the subway, can I borrow your iPhone for a second? Whatever. Yep. But leave us a review. Once we reach 50 of those, we will draw someone to win a pin, a sticker, and a $10 gift card to the coffee shop of your choice. And we would love to be able to do that soon to celebrate our 2nd anniversary here.
yeah, help us out, please. And in the meantime, go have a cup of coffee.
And don't commit a crime.